I found myself completely alone, and as I say, I was already free in Salo, and I wanted to go home. Well, where do you go without money, without clothing, without anybody helping? Nothing. Well, one day, some of the girls were going to the next town, which I don't even remember which it was. And there was a train which was going through Germany and through Europe, and we found the one which was going to Hungary. So there were two other girls wanted to go. One of them I knew from before. We climbed on top of the train, and we went wherever the train was going. And we will get off when either the window blows off or we go off. Luckily, I don't know, that was another miracle because the train was going fast. We were, I don't know if I was 60, 70 pounds. What is that, 30 kilos, 40 kilos, that the wind didn't take us off, but no, it didn't. The reason we went on top of the train because we had no money, we couldn't buy a ticket. That was one of the reasons. And the second reason was on the train, it was full of Russian soldiers, and they were going after the young girls. And up on top of the train, nobody bothered us. Well, it was very, very difficult until we arrived to Czechoslovakia. We got off the train. I said, well, from here it's not too far to go home because my home was on the Czechoslovakian-Hungarian border. Anyway, we got off in Prague, and there was a joint. I was watching for all the people who was going home, and they gave us $10. I thought I was the richest girl in the world. And we got some soup, as much soup what we could eat. And this one of the girls who came from my town, together with me, we went and got on another train, and then finally we crossed the border and we got to the place which was called Újhely. Half was Slovakia, Czechoslovakia, and half was Hungary. So from there we were able to go to our town, because our town was those days, it wasn't a village, it was a big town. 25,000 people lived there, but that's called a big town. And when I went in there, the first thing I went to the cemetery to see my mother. And then she told me I should come with her. On the way from the train station, I wanted to go home, but I didn't have where to go. There was no more home. The house where we lived was destroyed. There was nothing there. And she said, come, let's see what I have in my house. And I went with her, and lucky enough, we found two cousins and a brother there. The two cousins were in Russia, and they survived, and they came home earlier. And they asked me, there were a lot of people there who were coming back from the camp. I mean, we slept on the floor, men and women and girls, everybody. It didn't matter, as many as we could get in. And I spent about a week there until I said, I have nothing to do here, nothing to look forward to. I had to leave my mother. I went to the cemetery again. That was the only thing I had left there. And went out to the train station. And the train was going to Budapest. So I was a little bit familiar with Budapest because my mother, as a young girl, I was 13, 14 years old, used to take me up to see the big city, and she had a salon and she went to buy stuff. And also she took me to a relative, a far relative, not a cousin, a 55th relative, God knows what it was. But they were very good friends of hers. And every time she went to Budapest, she was in contact with them. We lived in a hotel, and my mother took me up there. And she did it a couple of times with me, so I got to know those people. Well, we got up again on top of the train. I knew how to travel already without ticket, without the $10 in my hand. I didn't even know what it was. I just knew it was good money. I wouldn't dare buy anything or give it to somebody. I would take it away if somebody, I would kill somebody if they wanted to take it away from me. Nothing else. In a kerchief, and not even a kerchief, in a big handkerchief, I had tied up a piece of bread and I don't know what else, something to eat, an apple or whatever I found. And that's how I went to Budapest. And there also, when you arrived to the station, the joint was there and was giving us hot soup. So I was revived a little bit from the trip, because the trip took about 10 hours, and it's not the most pleasant thing sitting up on the top of the train with the wind and the rocking, but I survived. One thing, I was able to survive everything already, I thought. And arrived to Budapest, thank God. I said, well, we had a hot soup. My friend stayed with her brother, and I was alone. Where do I go? I don't know. I have nowhere to sleep, nowhere to get anything. I can't stay on the station. So I said, you know what? I think I remember where these people lived. And I started walking, and it wasn't too far from the Keleti. That was the station where the train came in. And I was walking, and I remembered. I recognized the place, and I recognized the house. Well, so let me try. Maybe they're alive. Maybe they could help me. They lived on the 3rd floor in this house. I somehow, God helped me, and all of a sudden I remembered them and everything. And you know, everything was this, how, what, after, but I remembered. And I come, and I ring the bell in their apartment. And they come to the door, and when they saw me, both of them started to cry. They looked at me, and they clapped their hands and said, my God, look who's here. God sent you to us. They had a one and only son whom the SS took away, the Nazis, and shot him into the Danau. And the 2 older people were left alone. And when they saw me, they said, God sent you to us because we lost our only son. And they took me in. They were very, very good to me. I was like their own children, their children, and they were all of a sudden somebody good to me, somebody knew me, somebody knew who I was. I wasn't a number only. And they took me in dirty, filthy, and everything. And the first thing they did, they made a bath for me. They took me to a bath, hot bath with soap. I was able to clean myself. And she used to make certain things on the sewing machine. She was doing beautiful things, very handy. And she used to make very fancy underwear for very fancy people, and especially in the hard times. She was making them and selling them. So the first thing she did, she sat down to her machine and made me a pair of panties and a slip and something to put on, underwear. I said, I came home all alone, but my mother was again good to me, brought me over here, and they took me in like I was their own child. Unfortunately, they didn't have much either, because after the war, nobody had. People were hungry, everything was rationed, but I had a home, and I had a bed, and I had somebody who said, come, I have a soup and a piece of bread for you, and a warm home, and I belonged to someone and to somebody who cared for me. It was the most wonderful thing. I never forgotten them, and for many, many years I used to take packages and send them, but that's later. Anyway, again, I was lucky. My mother was watching over me. I had a home, and I had somebody who liked me and wanted me. So I stayed by them. She took me to the doctor. The doctor gave me pills that I should be healthy again, and they cleaned me up. And finally she sewed me a couple of dresses that I was able to put something on me, and I found a home.